There we go. So welcome. This is the CPCW monthly update for pharmacy contractors and the teams for March. We're having a slight change following some feedback last time around, so you may well have noticed we've moved the date back, so we've moved it away from month end. And the other change we're going to make is, as well as this update being uploaded to YouTube for people to ask to view after the event, we're also going to host it up on our podcast platform, which will be available on all major podcast platform, whatever brand of phone or device that you have. And hopefully that'll just make it a little bit easier to access for the whole team and to distribute to all of your teams if they're interested in it. We've got quite a few topics today, and then I'll take some questions at the end. So the first thing is, you may well have seen there's a health and wellbeing offer that NHS England have made available. This has come out about 2 weeks ago from NHS England in improvement to the shared mailboxes, and it was also directly out from all of the LPCs last week. So this is an NHS employee benefit which has been made available to contractors to the NHS and their teams. It covers sort of support, living life, legal info, bereavement support, medical info, and cognitive behavioural therapy. So quite a broad offering covering mental health, financial well-being, physical illness, work life and personal life, and really just to encourage to use it if you need to and make your staff aware of it. You will need access numbers or codes. Those codes are within the email that's been sent to your shared mailbox, but if you're struggling to find it, you can either email into the CM Pharmacy email address to NHS England or contact the LPC office, and we can provide those codes for you so your team can access it. But it's a really good resource, so just encourage to access it. Next topic is around flu vaccines. You may well have seen towards the end of last week, NHS England in Improvement published a letter around two things. One around the cohorts that are going to be live for next year, and second around which vaccines will be remunerated both first line and second line. A couple of things to draw out of that. The biggest change is the reversion to the pre-COVID cohorts. So that means the removal of primary care staff from eligibility in the scheme, and also removal of the 50 to 64 age range unless there's other risk factors present. So please have a look at that. If you go to psnc.org.uk/flu and just hit enter at that point, it'll take you through to the major flu page and the NHS England improvement letters near the top. I know we had a number of contractors with a lot of queries around the first and second line recommendations, so please check that letter rather than what some of the salesmen may well tell you about first and second line. Just double check it for yourself and make sure what you order is the right thing to be used right at the start of the season when it's the most prevalent. Next thing round is a bit of a reminder around CPCS IT. So please make sure things are in place. They should be by now, but if they're not, it's not too late. Please make sure everything's in place and actually everyone in the team is familiar with whichever choice your business has made. We've not had sight in any data, so we're a little bit blind as to what people are choosing, so we're unsure on that. But please do make sure the whole team's aware. One thing I do want to highlight to people, and we've had a couple of queries around this, whatever system you've chosen for your 111 and your NHS online referrals coming in, if you're receiving GP referrals into CPCS via either EMIS or the Farm Refer platforms, they're still going to land in Farm Outcomes because that's the route that they will come through. They don't pick the other route up. So whichever operation you've chosen for your main CPCS platforms, those will still arrive, and because they've got directed into Farm Outcomes, they sit outside of a provider pays model. So although you won't get charged for it, you may need to check both platforms. If you're still struggling to figure out what you need to do on that, there's more info up again on the PSNC website. So it's psnc.org/CPCSIT, and that'll take you through to the page that guides you through. We're in the middle, which I'm sure you will have seen from many emails and many reminders that both us and PSNC have sent out, of the Pharmacy Pressures Survey and the advice audit. It's the last week for the advice audit, and we don't yet have 50% of pharmacies completed it. We do have several pharmacies on our patch who've done part of it but haven't fully filled it in. So please participate if you're able to. The negotiations, really, it's important that they reflect what you guys are feeding back to us. So the reality of dealing with more acutely unwell people who've been displaced from everywhere else in the system, we need to be able to actually articulate that and to prove that's the case from what our pharmacies are telling us. So please fill in that audit, and it's really important as PSNC are entered into the 4th year of negotiations. And that is the next piece of news. Obviously, we have just had the notice from PSNC, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but the year 4 negotiations have commenced. So they're confidential, so we won't hear an awful lot of updates around them. But it does mean actually it's the first time for quite a while that the next year's negotiations have begun before that year's started. So it's a sign that things are slowly starting to return to normal in the negotiation cycle. Wanted to give you a really quick update on the CPCS referrals. There have been improvements since we last spoke to you around the dropped referral numbers, so thank you for all the work that you've all done on that. We do still have practices being trained and going live each week. And when that happens, Sarah, who's on the call today, she'll be contacting the pharmacies around the practice just to make sure that when we know what the go live date is, to ensure those pharmacies are aware of it and they know when to check their referrals. The key question I've been asking some teams when I've been either visiting or on the phone to pharmacies this week has been, are all team members aware and actively checking for referrals? Or is it just either the pharmacist or the manager that does it? It really has to be a whole team solution to own this, and you need multiple people able to keep an eye on so it doesn't fall apart if one person's not in for whatever reason. So just really encourage you to carry on the good work along that side of things. Next topic is a hypertension case finding service. So that's now live for many of you. We're getting data each week on the number of sign-ups, and it's growing. Just in case you've missed it from the LPC news, the EMIS referral button, so a bit like the CPCS referrals, we've now got the ability for GPs to use that. That's now live, so practices can use that to refer in. Eventually, it will also be live for non-EMIS practices in Farm Refer, but for now they can use NHS Mail. One thing it's really important to do if you're a pharmacy operating that service is to have local conversations with your practices to make sure they're aware of your capacity. You can tell them whether you wish to take referrals or not. Some may not, some may want to purely case find. And really they need to understand the nature of how you're going to be delivering that advanced opt-in service. So we need to be really clear on what you can take, when you're willing to take it, and also the timeframes involved, because there are no specified timeframes for the hypertension service, unlike some of the other referral platforms that we have. There are some suggestions, and we've been going out. You can see that on the webinar on our website on cpcw.org.uk, and it's also been going out to the clinical directors of late to say this is what the situation is and this is what the suggestions are from the cardiovascular board. But it's worth having those local conversations and making sure everyone's clear. And then the last couple of things, it's the weight management health campaign is active right now. So please ensure you filled in the Farm Outcomes Declaration on participation and given your views on the materials that have been provided, and that'll be right at the top of your Farm Outcomes Services screen. And then the last bit is the Easter rota commitments. They've gone out to contractors. We haven't had the final published version yet, but please make sure you know your own obligations. I've had one contractor contact us this week who hadn't picked it up until quite late. So please check your NHS shared mailboxes for messages from NHS England to ensure you pick that up and you can make the necessary arrangements. That's about it for me for this update, and hopefully we'll see you again next month.